Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video is going to be a new product that I'm using, and it's from Ulta New. It's their watercolor brush markers, and this is the spring garden set, and I'm going to use, I think it's like 4 of the markers. I got 2 different greens, which one is limeade, one is moss, and then there's the violet. Hold on 1 second. Midnight violet and the warm sunshine. Those are the 4 that I'm going to use, and we're going to kind of use this as inspiration. All right, and that's the back side of the stamp set. And how these work is you twist off, take off the yellow piece, and then twist it back on, and making sure it's nice and flush and tight. And then you're going to start by pressing on the barrel. Okay, and when you do that, the color is going to start coming down into the bristles, I guess, of the brush. And then once you have it flowing, you can start adding it to your watercolor sheet. Now on this particular one, I use the archival ink, and I used on my second element or card front, I used the Versaclear Nocturnal ink. But this one is not heat embossed. It's just the archival ink, which does work with watercolors. And so it's gonna allow us to be able to use the different colors and not smear the ink. Okay. And then this is the moss. And now that I got that flowing, I'm going to actually use the moss on the shadow side. And then I'm going to do a technique. A lot of times people do it with regular alcohol markers, which is called tip to tip. But I'm going to use my water brush, touch it onto the moss, and then add some of that color to portions of the limeade that we put down. And then I'm filling in there, trying to show you that you can get shading in a different way, add it directly, and then go over the whole thing with the water brush. There's a lot of different techniques you can do. And we're going to continue that same technique going into the flowers themselves. So let me get my yellow, which is the warm sunshine, ready. And this one, I actually wound up squeezing it a little too much because you're going to see a big amount is going to come out. So you definitely want to just kind of squeeze it multiple times and let it come out naturally, instead of squeezing so hard that it comes out in a larger droplet. You don't want to risk ruining your project. So I'm putting the yellow down in the center, kind of how it was on the inspiration photo. And then we're going to get the midnight violet working. And then we're going to kind of basically do my go-to method when it comes to watercolors. I like to put the darker color towards the bottom and then drag the color up using my watercolor brush. And this definitely helps when you're just beginning and you're trying to figure out where to put the color, where to get it to move. I'm trying to put down straight from the marker itself on the bottom part, because I figure with the flower on top, it would have more shadow down there. And then adding the color and moving it with the water brush to create different levels within the flower petals themselves. Now, the interesting part is, obviously, you can do a petal, let it dry, do the whole flower, and then if you want a deeper color, just go back in and hit the darker areas again with your marker, and it'll help intensify that color. Because just like with any other watercolor, if you're using the pan watercolor, if you're using other type of markers, you just want to create different levels and areas to make it interesting. Okay, so we're going to go up here to the second one using the same technique. and putting down the color. Now you can also do this another way. You could wet the actual area first and then just kind of tap in the color using the watercolor brush. It creates a different look because when it's already wet, the color will wick out, which creates a different effect than just putting down the color straight to the paper itself. It definitely would be something fun to experiment with. And we're just going to keep here putting down that color and moving it forward. And then, of course, you can also, if you have the Spectrum Noir sparkle brush pens, the ones that are like clear that you can put over, like the Wink of Stella. I know Spectrum Noir has one. I think even Nuvo has a brand where you could, it's water based, so you could use it to move the watercolor. And then it will give your object a natural shimmer. Now, when you're mixing, where I already put down the yellow with the purple, be careful because yellow and purple do make brown. So you're wanting it to seem blended, but you're not wanting to, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, making all kinds of noise. You don't want it to be just harsh lines. That's the goal that we're trying not to do. So when I was done, I wanted to put some splatters. And so I grabbed the Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine. And I just, at first when I was putting down the splatters, it was really clear. So I knew I had to mix up the color. And then I just put more splatters down. And then on this one, I'm trying to show you the shine on the black. And that's because we heat embossed the Nocturnal ink from Watercolor. And what that does is it creates a well. So if you're a newbie using watercolors in any form, whether it be watercolor pencil, watercolors in the pans, the brush markers like this, or the zig markers, no worries, okay? If you're afraid of bleeding, heat emboss is your friend, okay? It is the best way to really be able to use and do different layers or like different colors and not worry about bleeding. If you're afraid that you're going to mix colors that you're trying not to mix, then I would suggest doing the heat emboss. So like for instance, this particular first petal, because there was so much ink left in that marker, it kind of swelled up, but it didn't come out of the area because of the embossing. So if it was one of the flat flowers, that would have spread out because it was so much liquid, it had to go someplace. But because we created, like I said, that well, it actually allowed that color to kind of sit there. And you can see here, we're just doing this real quick, just a little reversal. I'm not doing much in shading. I'm just trying to get the color down. And then you can do the same thing, put the yellowy orange color and then spread out the rest of the color to give it different, shades or a little bit of a darker area down where the shadow is. And of course, if you have, like, say I have an orange marker in the set, I could always have taken that marker and gone into the shadow areas and then did the two shades. So there's always more you can do. It all depends on what all you're willing to do. If you just want something really quick with the color, put it on, call it a day, then the one color, just doing it the way that I showed you by putting the darker color, darker amount of it, where the shadows are, then work it. That'll work just as fine. We're going to hit it with the splatters again, and I'm going to zoom out so you can see them side by side. And I really, at first, when I was doing the yellow, I was like, oh, I don't know if this purple in the center is going to work. But I like them both for different reasons. And what's great is now I have card fronts that when I'm ready, all I have to do is trim them down, put on a sentiment, and the card is done. I can write something in the inside and send it off to whoever I wanted to send it to. So I definitely like these watercolor markers. I'm going to try them again, obviously, because they're new, and sometimes when you get new stuff, you just can't help yourself, right? So thank you guys for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And please hit the little bell on the side. That'll give you an alert whenever I'm uploading new content. So really, thank you guys, and I hope you have a great Sunday.